So we're looking at something here that's incomplete and that can be changed after it's approved. And a gentleman that just spoke mentioned that this is a better option than the current billboards that we have. But this is not instead of those billboards. They're not going to go away. This is going to be in addition to. So we're not talking about one's better than the other, and those are going to go away. This is addition to what we have right now, which are large signs, but to tell you the truth, I don't even look at them. But I think you're going to have a hard time not paying attention to an electronic billboard that's blinking and moving and colors of lights flashing at you at all times of the day and night when you're driving. That's a very, very different kind of sign, and I don't find it to be very attractive or appealing.
I think you've made that point in your first trip up, George. Thank you.
Well, I did it again.
Is there anyone? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. John's been back there with his hand up the whole time. I apologize.
It's okay.
No, I'm sorry.
John Gazzola, resident of Liberty Ridge in Stony Point, long-term resident. I'm just listening to everything that's being said tonight. And with all due respect to all of the specialists that have made presentations, number one, we've got to watch capitalism and laissez-faire, okay? I do recommend that Mr. Shepherd maybe do a little more research on the history of Stony Point. In view of the fact that he wants to replace the signage with very tasteful. I don't think that's in the best interest of Stony Point. Councilman Vasili made a comment about Chippy maybe wanting to advertise. I would think you guys on the town board would shut it down just as a conflict of interest. But one thing I beg of you, do not release your control over who can be approved if this signage gets passed. You have to maintain that control to keep Stony Point the way it is. And you guys are doing a great job. Just a comment.
Well, we appreciate that, and that's certainly the intentions of this board is to control what goes on that board. I think we're all in agreement with that. You don't have to worry about that. Timmy?
Tim Waldron, Stony Point resident since 1985. I'm listening too, and so a few things come to mind as I'm listening. I'm trying to be objective. I hear somebody talking about one sign, but you spoke of signs a couple of times, which is plural. So that suggests to me more than one sign. Okay. You said great benefits at least 3 times in about 10 seconds. I heard 2 benefits. Amber Alert, good benefit. Nobody's opposed to that. Town messages, good. But I understand that there's a lot of advertising possibly going on. I didn't hear anything about revenue for the town. That would be a great benefit, but I didn't hear that.
You did say that.
He did say money for the town? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Eyesore is definitely an objective thing, so everybody might say, oh, that looks nice. That doesn't, so that's very objective. And the Haverstraw sign that they have, or it's in West Haverstraw, I gotta say, I look at it. So you do look at these signs, and if you're driving, you really shouldn't be, but it's there. You look. So just things to think about, and I'm sorry for not hearing you talk about revenue for the town.
But just so you know, Tim, this is nothing like the West Haverstraw sign we're talking about, and as far as an eyesore, and I'm not saying this is where we're going to put it, we don't know where we're putting this sign right now. We're going to look at the different locations. But if we were to just go down 9W past the Stony Point Motel budget and look at the billboard that's sitting there, that to me is an eyesore. If that were to be taken down and replaced with a welcome to Stony Point sign, and I'm not saying we're putting it there, but if that were to be replaced with one of these signs, you're talking a night and day difference between what's there right now and what could be proposed with a company that would come in and build us up to a $300,000 sign with landscaping and no flashing lights and no sirens and no whistles, but a beautiful, something that would look, and as a matter of fact, when I see John come up, I thought he was going to discuss ARP, we'd have to go through this. These are all things that are down the road that we have to work on, making sure that this is to beautify Stony Point, not to make it worse. Our goal up here is to make sure Stony Point, it keeps its rich history, and that's our goal. We're certainly not looking to make our town look foolish.
Okay. Perhaps, though, soon we could see a picture or a video of this, which is
We are going to, as we move down this process, anyone who wants to come into this and give their, proposals to us. They will come in and give us presentations with videos and everything else.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
Jeff, if I may, I feel like there are a lot of holes that need to be filled, and I think Tim makes a great point, that we haven't, people don't necessarily know what these things would look like, and we haven't provided people with examples of what they look like in other municipalities, particularly other historic municipalities, or municipalities with a similar character to ours, and I think that we need to, maybe together, we should be looking to define some of the things in here where there's fill in the blanks, and from there give people a starting point, at least for discussion, about sizing, about restrictions, and about the number of these things, and all the questions that folks have been raising, because there are, I've circled probably, 6 or 7 different clauses in here where I have questions. So it's not really it's a proposal that's difficult, I think, for people to wrap their heads around unless we're giving them something to go on that's perhaps a little bit more specific.
I'll present you back up, John.
Frank Collier again, started off with the horses out of the barn, now the check is in the mail. It's kind of like, what's going on here? These two gentlemen get up and spoke about all the benefits of the sign, and they keep reassuring me that there's no danger from these things whatsoever. But yet we go back to the same thing. If the police see somebody riding down holding a cell phone up, they can pull up and probably get a ticket. If they see anybody texting, they'll do it too. So you're basically doing the same thing, but they're assuring you that it's okay to do that because there's no danger in that. Then you said, after a discussion, that the thing there was an application for one sign. But it wasn't necessarily one sign, it's anybody else can come and make a sign. So we might have 10 or 15 of these things that's conceivable.
I hope we have that many applications, but we're taking one. I would much rather have 15 people fighting for the opportunity to do business in the town.
That wasn't clear. It said like many applications. But anyway, I hope it's turned down, I really do. I think it's in every way a bad thing for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
Did I hear you correctly when you said, welcome to Stony Point sign? That it could be placed there?
Well, it would say something.
As long as there's breath in me and Joe Humphrey is alive, that'll never happen.
Okay.
Because I think that's a smack in his face.
Well, it's an example of,
Okay,
a lot of
that
towns.
is a bad choice.
What do you want me to say, welcome to Hammond Road?
No, put it somewhere else. Welcome to Tompkins Cove.
Susan?
Susan Fulgaris, 87 Montform Road, and Kathy, bravo. Thank you on behalf of Mr. Humphreys. I think the town is struggling with an identity. It seems we go back to throwing whatever we can throw at the wall, and if it sticks, if it's bubble gum, it smells like it sticks to the wall, it stretches, it's bubble gum. There is no clearly defined picture of what Stony Point is. And to sit here and say, we'll have a sign, we'll do this sign, we'll do that, you slipped, Jeff. I understand that. But we can't keep slipping in the image of who and what Stony Point is. And
Susan, where did I slip? Okay, there.
but Mr. Humphreys, you didn't mean to say that.
I'm 45 years in this town. I'm very proud of this town. I have a lot of history in this town. My family, my grandfather, my father, and my great-grandfather born and raised in this town. So don't say I slipped. I'm very proud of this town, and I would love to have a welcome to Stony Point sign in it. If Mr. Humphrey, who I've known my whole adult life through my father and through my uncle, I'm sure Mr. Humphrey would understand if we had a different sign that said welcome to Stony Point. I can assure you this. I see Mr. Humphrey on often, let's say. I know he's very sick, ill right now, his wife as well. But we're certainly, I would love to sit down with Mr. Humphrey, with the beautification committee, or anyone else that has ideas. That's what a public hearing is. It's not a slip that I said, welcome to Stony Point. This is a welcome to Stony Point.
Jeff, he got defensive and I'm sitting here biting my
I'm
tongue.
sorry.
But let me
That's
remind
fine.
you that a bully is a bully is a bully. I'm going to say my point is that the town of Stony Point is struggling to find an identity. I'm not quite sure a sign like this is in our best interest. And I would hope that you learn to respect all of us. And granted, you may have been born here forever and ever and ever, but there are other people who have ideas, and there are town people here who would like to be able to voice their opinion without you conking them on the head.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, at this time, we will, okay, but we're going to keep the public hearing open, we're not going to close this public hearing.
I think this whole discussion is somewhat ridiculous, but it all started from, it's tainted with somebody giving us a proposal about a sign, and now everybody has that sign on multiple corners, etc. All this is talking about is a sign law, talking about a sign in place in the town. Yes, there's open items, as Mr. Sully said, but there's nothing here that says that sign we saw is the sign that's going to be here. And what it talks about is we may end up paying for a sign ourselves and having just announcements in the end of the day. When the proposals come in later on, who knows what's going to happen? We're not here to talk about the individual company and sign we're going to take. We're talking about the sign law itself. And as pointed out in numerous conversations, and Max had pointed out also, you can go anywhere in the region and you will see towns have signs, and they're very tasteful in a lot of towns. They have as much heritage as we do from that standpoint. And George, in your comments there, the only statement here that makes any kind of comment relating to, again, it's tainted about that one company sign. The only word here, when you talk about the gate, a monumental ground sign constructed, they go through how it be constructed, for use of presenting public announcements, emergency local government messages, and limited control advertisement. That's like the only offensive word I see based upon your argument. In a format approved by the town of Stony Point. The maximum amount is 10 feet high. Doesn't mean we're going to have a 10-foot high sign. And then when it talks about later on, it talks about the same kind of message. It says, may contain messages which include announcements for events, products, professions, businesses, etc. that are not located on the property in which the sign is located. Those are the only two things. It is very generic, but doesn't mean that it's going to be against the town. So I think we have to look at this from a standpoint of the sign itself, whether it's environmentally an issue. And then we later on, if it passes, then we will look at the actual sign itself and what we're going to put there and what kind of messages it will have, what it costs us, etc. So it's two different issues in my mind. We may never get a sign. Maybe we may just pass a law, or we may not pass a law that has absolutely no sign at all being ever erected. But not to have a sign, because generically, you're all looking at this flashy sign. This is Las Vegas. And we're getting into establishments, front windows, lights on it. It's going to be 7-Eleven leaving the lights on at night, that kind of stuff. We're just talking about a potential of putting a sign, one sign, in the town.
Do you find what it's going to be first?
Yes, I agree with that comment, that's what we're saying here. But we're talking about, I think what Max indicated was, he's being conservative in essence by putting in here that we have the right as a town to put the sign up without following this. He's saying we put it in here, the way I understood it. It's probably like an hour ago he said it, so I guess the words. But from generically he's saying, put in here a sign that the town will have, that could erect to show that the town can do. So that the town is not going out putting signs up all over the place. We're going to follow our own law, which we're going to define here. This is not going to happen tonight. It may not happen in any of our terms. We may be here 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 10 years from now. And I'm sure the same comments will come up. Just don't get tainted on that one company sign. Because you have a line of people walking in here with their signs.
But you're hearing is public concern.
That's what this is. This is public input. That's why we talk. Everybody's input here.
So here's the question. So we've heard a lot of really good comments. a lot of really valid concerns. And clearly, this is, like I said, you know, it's got 100 holes in it. So what is the next step now that we've heard some of these concerns in terms of trying to clarify this or establish some sort of parameters, especially if we have to go out to bid for this? We have to be able to provide a set of parameters. If we were to move forward with this, we have to be able to provide some sort of set of parameters for the bidding company that is in line with some of the concerns that we've heard here tonight. So what do we do now? Is basically my question.
I think Mr. Monahan had some really good points, and I'm really concerned about the location and the size of the sign. So there are my concerns. And of course, everybody else has good concerns too, so where do we go from here?
Like I said before Brian says anything, we will be keeping this open, so there'll be more input from the audience or anyone else who wants to come out as well.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just, from what some of the concerns I'm hearing, you're not limited in this case